As Shaquille O'Neal drove through town to grab lunch at a local diner, he pulled into the parking lot and carefully parked one of his most prized possessions, a luxury car he had bought just weeks ago as a symbol of his success. As he stepped out, a racist cop spotted him. The officer, assuming Shaquille couldn't possibly afford such a car, walked over and accused him of stealing it. Shaquille defended himself, standing his ground, but the cop wasn't interested in listening. Instead, he started hitting the car with his baton. Then, as if to make things worse, he lit a cigarette and tossed it into the car, setting it on fire. What he didn't realize was that he had just messed with the wrong person, and he was about to learn a lesson he'd never forget. Subscribe, like the video, and tell us where you're watching from to see how this story unfolds. In the quiet morning of a peaceful neighborhood, birds chirped as the sun's golden rays slowly woke the town. This was home to Shaquille O'Neal, once a giant on the basketball court, now enjoying the calm life that came with retirement. As the early hours passed, Shaquille stirred in his bed, his eyes blinking open as the soft morning light streamed through the curtains. His body, trained for years through discipline and hard work, moved with strength as he stretched his arms, a small reminder of the power he once had on the court. Stepping outside, Shaquille's eyes landed on his beloved vintage car. It was a masterpiece, a shining symbol of his dedication and success. The classic red convertible gleamed in the sunlight, its polished surface reflecting his journey. Running a hand over the smooth hood, Shaquille smiled. This car wasn't just about luxury, it was proof of how far he had come. With a turn of the key, the engine roared to life, and he pulled out of the driveway, cruising through the streets toward his favorite diner for a well-earned meal. When he arrived, he parked with ease, catching the attention of a few locals. To some, he was a living legend, a role model, a source of pride. But to others in the mostly white neighborhood, he was a stranger. And that, to them, made him suspicious. As he walked into the diner, a small bell above the door rang. Behind the counter stood Susan, a warm and familiar face. She had been working at the diner for years and always greeted him with a smile. "Shaquille O'Neal, what a surprise! How are you, dear?" Shaquille chuckled. "Susan, you still making those salads like magic?" Susan laughed. "You know I am, Shaquille. Take a seat." Just as he settled into his chair, enjoying the smell of Susan's famous salad, something outside caught his eye. A police car, its black and white paint gleaming under the sun, rolled into the parking lot. There was something tense about the way it stopped. Out stepped Officer Connor. His badge shone on his uniform, a symbol of power. But it wasn't the badge that spoke the loudest. It was the hard look on his face, the way his jaw clenched, the bitterness in his eyes. Then his gaze locked onto Shaquille's vintage car. Its flawless red finish sparkled in the light. And at that moment, something dark flickered inside him, jealousy mixed with anger. What happened next would change everything. With a determined look, Connor walks toward the car, his steps firm and full of restrained anger. In his mind, the situation is crystal clear. A flashy car in a neighborhood like this? It has to be stolen. And to him, the thief is obvious, the well-known black basketball star sitting inside. Moving slowly and carefully, Officer Connor circles the car, his eyes scanning its shiny surface like a hunter watching its prey. Muttering under his breath, his voice filled with disdain, Connor sneers. "Who does this guy think he is, driving a car like this? Where'd he steal it from?" His words, dripping with judgment, reveal the real reason he's investigating. Each step he takes stirs the deep, ugly beliefs he holds. Connor growls under his breath. There's no way someone like him owns this car. It has to be stolen. These people think they can do whatever they want, showing off their fancy things, not on my watch. With his mind already made up, Connor marches toward the diner, ready to accuse Shaquille of a crime that, unknown to him, never even happened. Inside, Shaquille enjoys the last bites of Susan's delicious salad. As he glances out the window, his eyes land on Officer Connor. For a second, he watches him, feeling both curious and cautious. But not wanting to overthink it, he pushes the thought aside and turns back to Susan with a friendly smile. Shaquille smiling. That was amazing, Susan. How do you make it taste this good every time? But as he steps outside into the warm afternoon, his relaxed stride comes to a sudden stop. Officer Connor is leaning against his car, twirling his baton in slow, lazy circles. In that instant, Shaquille's expression changes. The baton, meant to symbolize authority and protection, is now a tool of arrogance, a silent challenge. A fire ignites inside him. Connor's voice is thick with mockery, his words sharp like a knife. Connor smirking. Nice car. Did you steal it from someone rich? Or maybe you won it in a cartel fight? I know how your people love the drug business. He grins, pleased with himself, completely unaware of the storm building in Shaquille's eyes. Shaquille's tone is firm, his stare intense. Though his voice stays calm, it burns with anger just beneath the surface. Shaquille, his voice steady but cold. I didn't steal it. It's mine. I bought it with my hard-earned money. For a moment, Connor's smirk fades, but then his face hardens, his eyes turning cold. His doubt, fueled by deep-rooted prejudice, only grows stronger. Connor, sneering. Oh yeah, and I'm supposed to believe that? You, a black, homeless loser, could afford this? Laughs. Yeah, right. I've heard fairy tales more believable than that. His laughter fills the parking lot, but it can't hide the ugly truth behind his words. What would you do if you were in Shaquille's shoes? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Even with Connor's harsh words, Shaquille stays calm. The anger inside him is controlled by the discipline he built through years of struggle. He pulls out his registration, holding it up as proof against Connor's unfair accusations. His voice is steady as he extends the paper toward Connor. Shaquille, neutral tone, hand outstretched. Here's my registration. See for yourself. But Connor doesn't care. He snatches the paper from Shaquille's hand, his eyes filled with anger. Without even looking at it, he flicks his wrist and tosses the registration to the ground, as if the truth means nothing to him. His hatred is like a volcano, ready to explode. Connor, voice full of anger. I don't need to see this. People like you shouldn't even be in this neighborhood. This is a respectable place, not some run-down ghetto for homeless losers. You're not welcome here. His words are filled with hate, a dangerous mix of ignorance and power. The tension grows as more people gather around, forming a silent ring around the two men. Their presence makes the moment even heavier, like a storm about to break. Shaquille's face stays unreadable, but inside he is determined to remain respectful. He refuses to be dragged into an argument. Instead, he speaks calmly, his voice cutting through the noise of the growing crowd. Shaquille, firm but calm. Officer, I don't want any trouble. Can I just get in my car and leave? I'm not looking for problems, but Connor isn't interested in peace. His eyes glint with cruelty as he takes a step closer, a smirk forming on his lips. He enjoys making Shaquille uncomfortable, feeding off the power he holds. Connor, mocking with a smirk. Not so fast. Let's see how you like a little inconvenience. Maybe you can explain things at the station. He reaches for his handcuffs, moving slowly on purpose. It's a scare tactic, meant to make Shaquille feel powerless. Then, suddenly, crack! The sharp sound of the baton hitting the car's headlight breaks the silence. The crowd freezes, their faces filled with shock. The air is thick with disbelief as Connor's violence takes a dangerous turn. One by one, people pull out their phones, recording everything. For a brief moment, there's nothing but stunned silence. Then Shaquille's voice cuts through the air, tight with rage. Connor, lost in his own anger, swings again. And again. Each strike of the baton, each harsh kick, is not just an attack on the car, it's a way for him to show his hate, his twisted sense of power. Connor, growling, eyes wild. There. Maybe now you'll think twice before coming here again. The crowd shifts, murmurs turning into outrage. People shake their heads in disbelief. Others whisper angrily to each other. But Shaquille? He doesn't lose control. His voice remains steady, though there's steel beneath the calm. Shaquille, firm, eyes locked on Connor. That's enough. You've made your point. Just stop. Let's be reasonable. For the first time, Connor hesitates. The weight of the crowd's eyes is on him, sharp as daggers. 1,000 silent stares, all demanding the same thing, an end to this madness. Connor's voice is sharp and cold, filled with hate. He ignores the plea to calm down, his words dripping with disgust. Connor, his tone dangerously calm. No, I don't think I have. You people need to learn your place. The crowd, their anger rising, starts to shout in protest, but Connor isn't paying attention to them. His eyes lock onto Shaquille, filled with a wild, dangerous light. Connor, this is what happens when you don't stay in your lane. With a slow, careless flick of his wrist, he tosses his burning cigarette into the car. The embers land on the clean seats. A thin line of smoke curls into the air, a poisonous reminder of his hatred. Connor, his voice like ice. There. Maybe now you'll think twice before coming back here. He steps away from the car, the smoke trailing behind like a cruel joke. What would you do if you were in Shaquille's shoes? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. In that moment, the patience that had protected Shaquille like armor begins to crack. His stance shifts. He's done holding back. Shaquille, his voice low, his jaw tight. I've had enough. You've gone too far. Without breaking eye contact, he reaches down and plucks the cigarette from the seat. With a firm motion, he crushes it under his shoe, a small act of defiance, but one that says everything. Shaquille, his voice steady and strong. I've tried to be respectful, but now you're crossing a line. You're a bully. You're just here to spread hate. Well, I won't let you. Not to me, not to anyone. The crowd, fired up by Shaquille's courage, gets louder. Their voices blend into one, a powerful, united force. Officer Connor's grin stretches wider. He steps closer, pushing into Shaquille's space. His baton, now a weapon, presses into Shaquille's chest. The metal is cold, the intent behind it even colder. Connor, his voice full of scorn. Oh? And what are you going to do about it? You're nothing but a bum. You always will be. His smugness is unbearable, his words thick with prejudice. The crowd grows louder, some cheering for Shaquille, others shouting for someone to call the authorities. Shaquille stands at the center of it all, caught between two choices: fight or walk away. Then, in an instant, his decision is made. With lightning speed, Shaquille moves. His hand darts out and grabs the baton mid-swing. The sharp clang of metal against metal rings through the air. With one powerful yank, he rips it from Connor's grip. The baton flies from his hands, clattering onto the pavement. Connor stumbles back, shock flashing across his face. The crowd erupts in cheers, their voices echoing through the streets. But Connor, his pride wounded, lunges at Shaquille, fists clenched, eyes burning with rage. Shaquille, fast and controlled, sidesteps the attack with ease. His movements are sharp, precise, years of training guiding every step. Connor's own momentum betrays him. He nearly trips, frustration twisting his face. Shaquille, his voice steady despite the chaos. You don't want to do this, officer. You're supposed to protect people, not hurt them. Connor's breath comes fast and heavy. His face is red with anger, but he doesn't listen. He circles Shaquille, his eyes hungry for revenge. Then, with a burst of fury, he swings a powerful punch aimed straight for Shaquille's jaw. But Shaquille is ready. With calm, practiced ease, he blocks the attack. His defense is flawless, his skill undeniable. And just like that, the balance shifts. Shaquille sees his chance, just a small opening, but it's all he needs. With lightning-fast precision, he throws a quick jab to Connor's ribs. It's a perfect hit, landing right where he wants. Connor stumbles back, gasping in pain. Gritting his teeth, he growls, "You're going to regret that." Fueled by rage, Connor pulls out his taser, twirling it in his hand as electricity crackles at the tip. The weapon, meant to protect, now becomes his tool for revenge. He fires. The air sizzles as the taser prongs shoot toward Shaquille, but the former champion is just as fast. In a blink, Shaquille dodges, the taser missing him by barely an inch. Before Connor can react, Shaquille moves in, his action smooth and effortless. Caught off guard, Connor barely has time to think. Shaquille grabs his wrist with an iron grip, yanking the taser from his hand in a single powerful move. Then, in one swift motion, Shaquille flips Connor over his shoulder, slamming him onto the pavement. The crowd erupts and cheers, their voices booming like thunder. Shaquille pins Connor down, his hand pressing firmly against the officer's back, keeping him in place. Keeping his voice calm and steady, Shaquille looks at the crowd. Their eyes are glued to him, hanging on his every word. "Somebody call the real police," he says, his voice carrying through the parking lot. "This man shouldn't be wearing that uniform." The crowd, energized by his words, jumps into action. Phones light up as people dial 911. Trapped beneath Shaquille's weight, Connor thrashes wildly, his voice hoarse with fury. He spits out curses and insults, trying to regain control. But the power he held just moments ago is gone, replaced by pure desperation. His face twisted with rage, Connor spits venomous words. "Let me go, you damn nuck! You have no idea who you're messing with!" But Shaquille doesn't even flinch. He leans in, his sharp gaze cutting through Connor's false bravado. Just then, a strong, commanding voice slices through the chaos. "Step away from him, Mr. O'Neill. Let me handle this." The police chief steps forward, his voice steady and full of authority. A squad of officers follows behind him. In his hand, a tablet plays the evidence. Clear footage of Connor abusing his power. The truth is out. The chief strides toward Connor, holding a pair of handcuffs. The weight of justice crashes down on the disgraced officer. With a loud click, the cuffs snap into place. It's over. Connor, once a figure of authority, now stands as a broken shell of his former self. His head hangs low, the cold metal of the handcuffs a fitting end to his downfall. The crowd cheers, their voices blending into a victorious roar. The chief turns to Shaquille, his expression serious, his voice filled with regret. "Mr. O'Neill, I deeply apologize for this officer's behavior. It was unacceptable and a disgrace to the badge." With honesty and respect, the chief extends a hand to Shaquille, standing as a symbol of justice. His voice is firm as he declares, "Officers like him, who fail to protect all citizens no matter their color, have no place in our ranks." Shaquille, his eyes full of quiet determination, grips the chief's hand in a strong handshake. He doesn't need to say much, the gesture says it all. His voice is steady, filled with the strength of someone who has been through battles before. "Shaquille." "Thank you, Chief." "I just want people like him to know they can't get away with this. People should be held responsible no matter who they are." His words carry the weight of experience. The scars of a life spent fighting for respect and fairness are etched into him. Weeks pass, and now Connor must face the consequences of his actions. The courtroom is nothing like the parking lot where it all happened. Instead of chaos, there is order, justice at work. Connor, now wearing a wrinkled suit, stands before the judge with his head down. The charges against him are serious, the weight of his mistakes pressing down on him. The judge's voice echoes through the room. "Judge, Mr. Connor, you are charged with misconduct in office, destruction of property, and abuse of power. How do you plead?" After everything, Shaquille O'Neal has become more than just a basketball champion. He's now a leader in the fight for fairness and justice. His voice has become a tool for change. At community events, town meetings, and rallies, he speaks out, calling for accountability and an end to racism. His words, shaped by personal experience, inspire those who want to make a difference. Surrounded by a crowd of grateful supporters, Shaquille stands tall, his classic black convertible gleaming behind him, a symbol of hope and victory. Fans gather around, admiration clear on their faces. Shaquille's signature grin appears as he shakes hands, accepts words of thanks, and poses for pictures. He is the perfect mix of strength and humility. One fan steps forward, voice full of respect. Fan: "You're a hero, Mr. O'Neill. Thank you for standing up for what's right." Among the crowd, Shaquille pauses for a moment, lost in thought. A peaceful smile crosses his face. Shaquille. Sometimes the best way to fight back is to let your actions speak louder than words. Stand up for what's right, even when the odds are against you. That's how you make a difference. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. The bigger the channel gets, the more amazing stories we can bring you.